Hey, what is up guys, welcome back, and today I'm doing a camera comparison of the S7 Edge versus the iPhone 6s Plus. So first, taking a look at the S7 Edge, we'll go in the camera app and we can go in the video settings and see it's got 4K video at 30 frames per second, just like the iPhone 6s does, but there is some differences. Now, they're both 4:3 aspect ratio at 12 megapixels, however, the S7 Edge does have dual pixels, so that means that it can focus much faster. It also features much more internal features inside the app, so you can go into Pro mode and you can set the ISO and your aperture and your white intensity and stuff like that. Whereas on the iPhone, you tend to just get the standard interface and you can't really change much. You can only really take a picture with the flash on or the flash off, so there's not really much customization on the iPhone as usual, but they both do take great photos, and with the iPhone you can guarantee that it will always take a really great photo, whereas on the S7, if you use the manual mode, you cannot really guarantee it and sometimes it might look a bit terrible. But going into the settings on the iPhone, I'll just show you guys 4K at 30 frames per second. They also both have 720p at 240 frames per second, which is good for slow-mo. But as you see, the internal interface on the iPhone is not that great. I mean, it's great if you're really simple and you just want to take a picture, but if you want to be like a pro photographer, then the S7 Edge is definitely a no-brainer. Now, you can turn on your HDR up here. You can turn on your live photos, your timer, front-facing camera, as well as your flash, but that's it. You can also change your light intensity kind of by swiping up and down on the actual view frame. So let's take a look at some pictures. So on the left here we have the S7 Edge, and on the right we have the iPhone 6s Plus, and this will always be the same. Immediately we see the S7 Edge has more detail as well as more contrast on the left there, and that is probably due to the larger sensor as well as some of Samsung's software tricks that kind of make the contrast a bit too high and overexposed sometimes. But the AMOLED screen also makes it look really saturated, so when you're actually looking at the photos on your phone, it does look ridiculously saturated compared to the iPhone. But taking a look at this plant, we can see that they both have a fair amount of detail. The Samsung again is more saturated, but they're both really good up close. The Samsung's a bit faster at focusing, but looking at this picture, we actually see the opposite kind of. The iPhone looks a little bit sharper, I'd say, on the right, and there's a lot more detail, there's a lot more colors coming into the shot. But taking a look at this water hydrant, we can see that there's actually a lot of detail on the S7, and if we actually zoom in onto the screw bit at the top there, we can see there's so much more detail than on the iPhone. So if you were going to crop some photos down, whether you wanted to like crop someone out, then the S7 is definitely a greater option, as there's a lot more detail when zooming in. But when looking from a distance, there's really not that much difference apart from Samsung's contrast, and sometimes when you're looking at some really detailed complex shapes, you can definitely see the Samsung has a lot more detail to it. But color-wise, the iPhone has a lot more realistic colors if you're going for that, whereas the S7 looks like it's got a permanent Instagram filter on it. So looking at this plant picture, they're both very, very similar, and you can see that the S7 has a lot more detail on that plant up close. Now I'm going to do a quick video test with them both at 4K at 30 frames per second, and I'm going to put an audio symbol on whichever side of the screen that the phone microphone audio is coming from. Okay, hey, what is up guys? This is recording at 4K 30 frames per second. On the left we have the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge, and on the right we have the iPhone 6s Plus. So you'll probably be able to tell that the Samsung is much more contrasted, all the colors, and the image stabilization is quite good in both. But I'll let you guys judge for yourself. So the Samsung does look a little bit sharper, and the focus is definitely a little bit quicker there. So if we just go into the plant, the Samsung does look like it's focusing a little bit faster. But if we go over to the fence here, you can see the greens are much more contrasted on the Samsung, like I said before, and the fence looks more of a realistic color, kind of on the iPhone maybe. It's a little bit in between, but the Samsung does exaggerate things quite a bit. But they both look really good, and it's hard to tell unless I'm viewing it on a bigger screen. But they're both 4K, so...
up my